Imagine opening an old family box that has been sitting untouched for decades. Inside are old photographs, forgotten memories, and maybe a small collection of coins that nobody has looked at for years. Among those coins, there is a simple 1-cent piece. At first glance, it looks ordinary. It is small, it is old, and many people might think it has little importance. But what if that small coin carries a story from another time? What if it survived generations, passed through different hands, and became a piece of American history that collectors still search for today? This is the fascinating world of Lincoln Wheat Pennies. These coins were not created to become treasures. They were made for everyday Americans. They were used in stores, carried in pockets, placed in jars, and exchanged during some of the most important decades in United States history. But time changes everything. A coin that once had the value of only 1 cent can become a historical artifact. The reason is not always just the age of the coin. Collectors look deeper. They study the year, the mint mark, the condition, the surface details, and the story behind each piece. Today we are exploring 4 Lincoln Wheat Pennies that have attracted attention because of their unique characteristics and collector interest. Each coin has its own chapter, each coin has its own journey, and each one reminds us that sometimes the smallest objects can hold the biggest stories. Before we reveal the final coin, let's begin with our first discovery. Coin number 1. The 1950 Lincoln Wheat Penny without a mint mark. The story of this coin begins in the year 1950 amperes period, when America was entering a new era. The country was moving forward after the difficult years of the 1940s. Families were rebuilding their lives, industries were growing, and the nation was looking toward the future. During this time, the Lincoln Wheat Penny was a familiar part of everyday American life. People did not think of these coins as collectibles. They were simply money used for normal activities. A penny could be placed on a counter, handed to a cashier, or saved in a household container. But decades later, collectors began to look at these coins with a different perspective. They realized that every old coin was connected to a specific moment in history. The 1950 Lincoln Wheat Penny without a mint mark was produced at the Philadelphia Mint. During this era, coins made in Philadelphia often did not carry a mint mark. For collectors, this small detail helps identify where the coin was produced. The front of the coin shows the famous portrait of Abraham Lincoln, one of America's most respected presidents. The reverse features the classic wheat stalk design, which gave the coin its famous name. The wheat penny design became a symbol of an important period in American coin history. It represented strength, agriculture, and the hardworking spirit of the nation. But what makes old coins interesting is not only the design, it is the journey. A 1950 penny may have spent years inside someone's pocket. It may have traveled through different cities. It may have been placed away by someone who thought it was worth keeping. Over many decades, some examples develop changes in their appearance. A lightly darkened or black surface layer can appear because of natural aging, storage conditions, and environmental exposure. For collectors, these details create curiosity. They ask questions. Where was this coin stored? How did it survive for so many years? What makes this example different from thousands of others? That is what makes coin collecting more than just searching for old money. It is the process of discovering history. Collectors carefully examine many factors, including authenticity, condition, preservation, and overall demand. A coin with interesting characteristics may attract attention, but professional evaluation is important when determining a coin's true market position. According to some market estimates, examples of the 1950 Lincoln Wheat Penny with rare characteristics have been discussed with values around $1,010,000. However, actual prices can vary greatly depending on certification, condition, authenticity, and collector demand. The real fascination of this coin is not only the estimated value, it is the story behind it. A small penny created in 1950 has traveled through more than 7 decades of American history. It connects us to the people who used it, the places it visited, and the changing world around it. And that is why collectors continue searching. Because sometimes, hidden inside an ordinary-looking coin, there's a story waiting to be discovered. But our journey is only beginning. The next coin takes us to 1951. Another Lincoln Wheat Penny with its own mystery, unique appearance, and a story that continues to attract collectors. Coin number 2. Every old coin has a beginning. Some begin in a mint building where thousands of identical pieces are created. Some begin in the hands of everyday Americans who use them without ever knowing that decades later, someone may search for that same coin. Our second coin takes us back to the year 1951, a time when America was experiencing major changes. The excitement of the post-war years was shaping the country. New businesses were growing, families were building new futures, and communities across the United States were entering a period of transformation. During this era, the Lincoln Wheat Penny continued to play a small but important role in daily American life. It was not a rare object. It was not something people protected in special collections. It was simply a 1-cent coin used by millions of people. A customer might receive one as change from a local store. A child might save one in a small jar. A worker might carry several of them in a pocket after a long day. Nobody knew that these ordinary moments would become part of the coin's decades later. Collectors started searching through old collections, looking for wheat pennies that had interesting features, strong preservation, or unique appearances. This brings us to the 1951 Lincoln Wheat Penny without a mint mark. Like the previous coin, this example was produced at the Philadelphia Mint. The absence of a mint mark is a characteristic that helps collectors identify coins made at Philadelphia during this period. The coin carries the classic Lincoln design. On the front is the portrait of Abraham Lincoln, created by famous sculptor Victor David Brenner. Lincoln's image has remained one of the most recognizable designs in American coinage. On the reverse side are 2 wheat stalks surrounding the words that made this coin famous among collectors. The reason people still call it the wheat penny. The design represents a connection to America's agricultural history and the hardworking people who helped build the nation. But when collectors examine a 1951 wheat penny, they do not stop at the design. They look at the details. They study the surface. They check the condition. They search for anything that makes one coin different from another. This particular example is known for its light black dots and aged surface appearance. Over many years, copper coins can experience natural changes because of storage conditions, handling, and exposure to different environments. To someone unfamiliar with coin collecting, these marks may seem like simple imperfections. But to collectors, every detail can become part of the investigation. A collector may wonder, was this coin stored safely for decades? Did it spend years inside a collection? Did someone recognize its importance before others did? These questions are what make coin collecting exciting. It is not only about owning an old object. It is about discovering a connection to the past. The 1951 Lincoln Wheat Penny represents a time when America was moving into a new generation. It was created before modern digital money, before smartphones, and before many of the technologies that define life today. Holding a coin from that period is like holding a small piece of a different America. When collectors evaluate a coin like this, they consider many important factors. The year mint mark, condition, authenticity, and preservation all play a role. A coin in better condition may receive more attention, while unusual characteristics can increase collector curiosity. According to some market estimates, examples of the 1951 Lincoln Wheat Penny with rare characteristics have been discussed with values around $108,000. However, the actual market value of any individual coin depends on professional grading, authenticity, condition, and current collector demand. The important lesson from this coin is that history is not always found in museums. Sometimes it is found in a small box at home. Sometimes it is sitting quietly among ordinary coins that people have forgotten about. The 1951 Lincoln Wheat Penny reminds collectors that every coin has a journey. A journey that begins at the mint. A journey that continues through the hands of everyday people. And a journey that can still create excitement many decades later. But the story does not end here. Our next coin takes us to a different mint location and introduces the famous D-Mint mark. A 1949 Lincoln Wheat Penny that carries the mark of the Denver Mint, and another fascinating chapter in American coin history. Coin number 3. Every coin has a birthplace. Some are created in Philadelphia. Some come from Denver. Others are produced at different mints across the United States. For collectors, that small detail can completely change the story of a coin. Our third coin takes us to the year 1949 and introduces the importance of the D-Mint mark. The 1949 Lincoln Wheat Penny was produced at the Denver Mint, a facility with a long history of creating American coins. But before we talk about the coin itself, we need to understand the time period in which it was created. The late 1940s was a remarkable chapter in American history. The United States was recovering from the effects of World War II. Soldiers were returning home, industries were changing, and families were beginning to experience a new era of growth and opportunity. In this changing America, the Lincoln Wheat Penny continued to move through everyday life. A penny was not considered valuable at the time. It was a simple tool for buying small items. People used these coins at local stores, restaurants, and businesses. They were exchanged millions of times without anyone thinking that future generations might carefully study them. But that is what makes old coins fascinating. Time changes the way we see things. Something ordinary today can become a piece of history tomorrow. The 1949D Lincoln Wheat Penny carries the small letter D beneath the date, showing that it was produced at the Denver Mint. For collectors, mint marks are like a coin's address. They tell part of the story about where the coin was created and help separate different production runs. The Denver Mint has played an important role in American coin production for generations. Coins produced there have become part of countless collections around the world. The design of this wheat penny follows the famous Lincoln style. The front displays Abraham Lincoln's portrait, representing one of America's most respected leaders. The reverse shows the classic wheat stalks, a design that became one of the most beloved images in American coin collecting. But the real story of this coin is found in its survival. This particular example shows a light brown surface appearance, a characteristic that can develop naturally on copper coins over many years. Copper changes over time. The environment, storage conditions, and handling can all affect how a coin looks after decades of existence. For collectors, these changes create another layer of interest. They are not only looking at a coin, they are studying a survivor. Imagine this penny leaving the Denver Mint in '49. Maybe it entered circulation in a small American town. Maybe it was used by someone buying everyday items. Maybe it was saved by a person who noticed something special about it. Or maybe it simply disappeared into a collection, waiting years before someone discovered it again. That mystery is what keeps many collectors searching. When experts examine a wheat penny, they look at many factors. They consider the coin's authenticity, condition, preservation, possible varieties, and demand among collectors. A coin's age alone does not guarantee a high value. The complete story of the coin is what matters. According to some market estimates, examples of the 1949D Lincoln Wheat Penny with rare characteristics have been discussed with values around $114,000. However, actual selling prices can vary depending on professional grading, authentication, condition, and the interest of buyers at the time. The value of this coin is not just the link's value, it is also found in the connection it creates between the past and the present. A small copper penny from 1949 allows collectors to imagine the America that existed when it was created. It reminds us of a time when coins were part of everyday conversations, everyday purchases, and everyday life. And that is why wheat pennies continue to attract attention. Because behind every coin is a story of creation, a story of circulation, a story of survival. But we still have one final chapter left. Our last coin takes us to 1948, another important year in American history, and a wheat penny with its own unique appearance and collector interests. Coin number 4, 1948 Lincoln. We have reached the final chapter of our journey through these 4 Lincoln Wheat Pennies. Every coin we have explored so far has carried a different story. The first coin showed us how an old penny can become a historical discovery. The second coin reminded us that small details can create curiosity among collectors. The third coin introduced us to the importance of mint marks and the history of the Denver Mint. Now, we travel back to 1948, a year filled with change, rebuilding, and new beginnings in America. The world was entering the years after World War II, and the United States was moving into a new period of growth. Factories were adapting. Families were creating new futures. Communities were changing. And throughout this time, the Lincoln Wheat Penny continued to be a familiar part of American life. Millions of people use these coins every day. A penny could buy small items and become part of a child's savings or sit unnoticed inside a drawer for years. Nobody using these coins in 1948 could have imagined that decades later, Collectors would study them and search for examples with interesting characteristics. That is the fascinating thing about coins. They begin as everyday objects, but time can transform them into pieces of history. The 1948 Lincoln Wheat Penny without a mint mark was produced at the Philadelphia Mint. During this period, Philadelphia coins commonly appeared without a mint mark, which became an important identifying feature for collectors. The coin features the classic Lincoln Wheat design. On the front is Abraham Lincoln's portrait, a symbol that has represented American history on the centre for generations. On the reverse side are two wheat stalks, creating the design that gave this coin its famous name. The wheat penny design is remembered because it represents an important era of American coinage. It connects collectors with a time when coins were made with simple but meaningful artwork. But the story of this particular example comes from its appearance and survival. This coin shows dark and brown surface layers on both sides, giving it an aged look that reflects the many decades it has existed. For experienced collectors, the appearance of an old coin can raise interesting questions. How is it stored? Was it kept in a safe place? Did it spend years in circulation? Did someone recognize its importance before it became part of a collection? Every mark and every change on an old coin can become part of its history. However, collectors also understand that appearance alone does not determine a coin's value. They carefully study authenticity, condition, rarity, preservation, and demand. A coin that has survived in better condition or has unusual characteristics may attract more attention. But professional evaluation is important for determining its true market position. According to some market estimates, examples of the 1948 Lincoln Wheat Penny with rare characteristics have been discussed with values around $119,000. However, actual market prices depend on factors such as certified grading, authenticity, condition, and collector interest. The most interesting thing about this coin is not only the estimated link is the connection to history. Imagine the world this penny has witnessed. It existed before many modern technologies were created. It survived changing economies, changing generations, and decades of American life. A small 1-cent coin became a silent witness to history. And that is why collectors continue searching for wheat pennies today. Because they are not only collecting metal, they are collecting stories. They are collecting memories. They are collecting small pieces of the past that still connect us to another time. After exploring the stories behind these 4 Lincoln Wheat Pennies, one important lesson becomes clear. A coin's journey can be just as fascinating as the coin itself. The 1950 Lincoln Wheat Penny, the 1951 Lincoln Wheat Penny, the 1949D Lincoln Wheat Penny, and the 1948 Lincoln Wheat Penny each represent a different moment in American history. They were created during a time when coins were an important part of everyday life. People carried them in their pockets. Businesses used them in daily transactions. Families saved them without knowing that decades later, collectors would study their details and search for examples with special characteristics. But what should you do if you find an old wheat penny? The first step is simple. Do not rush. Many people make the mistake of cleaning old coins because they want them to look newer. But cleaning can damage a coin's natural surface and may reduce its appeal to collectors. A coin's original condition is one of the most important things collectors consider. The next step is to examine the basic details. Look at the year. Look for the mint mark. Check both sides of the coin. Pay attention to the condition and any unusual features. Small details can make a big difference when collectors study old coins. For example, the mint mark can reveal where a coin was produced. A small letter can connect a coin to a specific mint location and a specific part of American history. The condition of a coin is also extremely important. Collectors often use professional grading services to evaluate coins because even small differences in preservation can affect interest and market value. A coin that has been protected for many years may attract more attention than a similar coin that experienced heavy wear. Another important factor is authenticity. Unfortunately, the popularity of rare coins also means that people need to be careful. Before making important decisions about buying or selling a valuable coin, collectors usually recommend getting proper evaluation from trusted experts. The world of coin collecting is not just about finding expensive link, it is about learning. It is about history. It is about understanding how a small piece of metal can tell the story of an entire generation. The Lincoln Wheat Penny is special because it connects ordinary people with extraordinary history. A person from the 1940s or 1950s may have used one of these coins without thinking twice. But today, that same coin can inspire curiosity among collectors who want to understand its journey. The estimated market discussions surrounding examples of these coins show why collectors continue searching. But every coin must be evaluated individually. The true value depends on many factors, including authenticity, certified grade, preservation, rarity, and current collector demand. So the next time you see an old penny, take a closer look. May not be a rare treasure, but it may still be a piece of history. Because behind every old coin is a story of where it was made, a story of the people who used it, a story of the decades it survived, and sometimes a story that is still waiting to be discovered. Thank you for joining us on this journey through the world of Lincoln Wheat Pennies. If you enjoyed learning about these hidden pieces of American history, make sure to subscribe for more fascinating coin stories, rare discoveries, and collector adventures. Because you never know, the next great discovery could be hiding somewhere very close.